Hi, welcome back to English 111 Online. This week we're going to write an entire essay. Last week we learned how to write an introductory paragraph for an essay, and this week we're going to write our first core essay. View my video, what you're doing. Read pages 9 through 16 and 17 through 29 in the little Seagull Handbook for an understanding of the writing process and development of paragraphs, and then view the slideshow presentation on being a global citizen. So the slideshow presentation is right here, being a global citizen, and it asks some questions. What does it mean to be a global citizen? What is meant by a country's culture? What is the difference between global culture and global issues? What are some global issues that you might be interested in exploring through your writing? And so just view that that PowerPoint slide or slideshow presentation. And then you're going to go here to the graded assignment, this Global Citizen Journal, and you're going to answer those questions in paragraph form in your journal. So make sure that when you click on that, you will see it asks for you to answer each of the questions in a sorry, it's taking so long to come up here. After you view the slide presentation, answer the questions in paragraph format. So when you're developing a paragraph, each paragraph should have a topic sentence that tells the reader what the question is going to be about. An easy way to do this is just to take your question and make it into a sentence. What does it mean to be a global citizen? Can be changed to a global citizen means various things to me, and then you're going to fill it in with your supporting details about what the things that that it means to you. What is meant by a country's culture? A country's culture means, and then you're going to answer the question and then fill in some supporting details to go with that. So it'll be good practice for you writing paragraphs with topic sentences, but it'll also be a good practice for you I'll try to go back to the other page. It'll be good it'll give you an understanding of the global perspective that this course is. This is a global perspective course. When you complete this, if you're a global perspective scholar, then of course you can follow those the courses that have that distinction, and you'll be able to graduate with a global a GPS perspective, a broader view of the world, if you will. Then after you have done that and completed that first assignment, then you want to read pages 1 through 14 in our other textbook, Rereading America. Read Looking for Work on pages 19 through 24 in Rereading America for an understanding of critical thinking and critical reading as it applies to our textbook and to this course. Now that's in general, so that you can get information about how to read critically and how to take notes as you read and that sort of thing. In the assignment I've given you, I'll talk to you more about taking notes and making notes as you go. All right, so Looking for Work is one thing that I want you to read. The other thing that I want you to read is The Stories That Bind Us. And what I did was, that is a story from the New York Times, and instead of making you endure all the ads and everything that came with it, I copied and pasted it into a document, and it is right here. Read this document as part of the core essay 1 assignment, The Stories That Bind Us. Read that. And so the story in your Reread America and this story will be the two things that you'll need to read for this assignment. Okay, and then the assignment itself. I've got the document open right here. So this is going to be an analysis informative assignment. You're going to have two sources for this paper. Those two things that I mentioned, Looking for Work, which is in Rereading America, and The Stories That Bind Us, which is the document that you can click on and read here on the Moodle page. We're going to be using MLA 8th edition formatting for this essay. Some of you may already be familiar with English 111. Some of you may, with MLA formatting. Some of you may not be familiar with it. But if you'll look on page 161 to 169 in the Little Seagull Handbook, there is a sample research paper that is written in MLA format, and you can see how your line spacing is supposed to go, what kind of header you're supposed to put on each page, what your heading is that goes on the first page, and how to create an in-text citation that matches a works cited citation. There is also information on the Moodle page that I'll show you in just a minute that gives you more information on formatting your document. But for this essay, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to look at families. We took a look at some quotations, and you wrote an introduction paragraph about families last week. But this week, your objective is to explore what it means to be a family and to learn how to create a thesis statement and develop it in body paragraphs that explain the point of the essay. And of course, the point of the essay is your thesis statement. So as you read the two assigned stories, ponder these points. In Rereading America, it gives us this startling fact on page 16 that only 46% of American kids now live in a traditional family, defined as a home with two married heterosexual parents in their first marriage. And in 1973, 73% of the U.S. children lived in such families. Now, this essay is going to ask you to define what you think a family is, because if only 46% are living in a family defined as a home with two married heterosexual parents in their first marriage, how are you going to define family? It's got to be more inclusive than that for today's families. And here's another point to consider. So the kind of family that Gary Soto in the story Looking for Work is not is not in the majority anymore. That kind of family that he wants is just not there anymore. And so, or it's not in the majority. It certainly is still there, but it's not in the majority anymore. Then in The Stories That Bind Us, this is a magazine article from the New York Times, and this is something that appeared where Bruce Feiler asked this question: what's the secret sauce that holds a family together? What are the ingredients that make some families effective, resilient, and happy? And that's what the essay is going to be about. You're going to write about what you believe makes a family successful, but you're going to base it on what you've read, Gary Soto's work and the New York Times article by Mr. Feiler. So in your pre-writing, I've given you some instructions here what to do for that. If in case you're in this document and don't want to go back to the Moodle to find it, I made this a live link right here, The Stories That Bind Us. You can access it from right there as well. The other one in the Rereading America textbook. And then note portions of both that answer this question: since there are no perfect families, what defines a family, and what are the ingredients that make some families effective, resilient, and happy? This is what your essay is about right here. So when you're drafting, make sure you do it in MLA format. Name it so you can find it later, so that when it's time to work on it further, when you're revising it, when you're editing it, you'll be able to find it again, and so that you'll be able to find it again when you get ready to turn it in on the Turnitin link. Here's the information for the introduction. Start with a general statement that will get the attention of the readers. You can use the one from page 16 that I mentioned if you want to, but you do not have to start with that. You could find something else that you want to start with. Maybe there's another quotation from one of the readings that you want to use. But remember, when we created the introductory paragraph last week, we're going to create it again this week. We're going to start with something general, and then you're going to be able to narrow it down until you get to a thesis statement. So the thesis statement, as I said, is the point of your essay. So answer this question. Since there are no perfect families, what defines a family, and what are the ingredients that make some families effective, resilient, and happy? Here's a template that you could use for your thesis. Families can be defined as blank and can be effective, resilient, and happy if they have certain ingredients, comma, and then list those ingredients. And then, of course, you would devote paragraphs to each of those ingredients as you go through and write. Make sure as you write, this is an important note right here, make sure as you write, if you use words directly from the essay that you've read, from the story in the book, from the essay, from the New York Times, put that information in quotation marks. Anytime you write the exact words, it needs to go in quotation marks. If you paraphrase the words, in other words, you put them in your own words, if you summarize them, be sure that you make them different enough so that you won't be plagiarizing. If you're going to use the exact words, put them in quotation marks. If you want to put them in your own words, make sure that your own words are different enough that you're not just saying what the person said again. So be careful about that. And whether quoting directly, summarizing, or paraphrasing, you must use in-text citation. Again, you can look at that on the sample essay that is in the Little Seagull Guide handbook. Your first body paragraph, elaborate on your definition of family. Make sure you have a topic sentence that states the purpose. For example, there are really no perfect families as Gary Soto sees them on television shows such as Father Knows Best, so it is best to define a family as blank. Then you can put in there how you define the family, and then elaborate on that with supporting details that go with that. Just for fun, in case you don't know what Father Knows Best is, they give a little description of it in the story when you read it. But in case you're not familiar with it, I made this Father Knows Best a live link to an episode on YouTube that you can watch if you want to. That was a show from when I was growing up, but anyway, and if you have time, you can look at that. You certainly don't have to. You can write this essay without doing that. Body paragraphs 2 and 3, or however many points that you want to make about the successful ingredients that a family has. So you will elaborate on the ingredients. Make sure each paragraph has a topic sentence that states the purpose of the paragraph. For example, one key ingredient that makes a family successful is blank. So you fill it in with what you see as something that makes a family successful, and then back that up with information from the article that you read, the Times article that you read, and also from the Soto story in Rereading America. And then remember, every time you quote something, put it in quotations and do an in-text citation. And if you summarize it or paraphrase it, you still have to use the in-text citation. If you start another paragraph, then you would say another ingredient that makes a family resilient is blank. So make sure you use these references from the 2 readings to back up your comments. and make sure that you use the in-text citation as you go. And then you be ready for your conclusion. A conclusion is like the opposite of an introduction.